Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. In today's gaming news, Warcraft 4 is still on the table, the flock will haunt you later this month, and Dying Light heads to the countryside.
What are my chances?
Not good.
So whenever this topic comes up, there's always people saying they're never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. They're never gonna make another Warcraft RTS game because of the existence of WoW. However, it seems like it is still a possibility. In an interview with IGN at Gamescom, StarCraft II Legacy of the Void producer Tim Morton said, "It's very rewarding for us to hear that there's demand out there for more RTS content in the Warcraft universe. So once we're done with the Void, I think we'll get together as a team and talk about what would inspire us to work on next. There's no question though that we'll consider Warcraft, StarCraft, or even new ideas. Anything is possible."
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
That's pretty exciting news for me and I think many other people out there. I have very, very fond memories. I remember the first time I ever saw Warcraft 3. I was sleeping over a friend's house. We're just little kids, and I stayed up all night just playing custom games. I mean, I think myself and many other people are highly anticipating a potential Warcraft 4, and Blizzard, please, I'm begging you. Next up, I wanted to tell you guys about this upcoming horror multiplayer game called The Flock. This is an asymmetrical multiplayer first-person horror game where 3 to 5 players must search for this light artifact, and then once you find it, you basically become this carrier and you have to evade the other players who are known as The Flock. Now, the carrier is slower moving as you would expect, but he also has tools at his disposal, like he can shine the artifact's light on the Flock, which will slow them down. But the Flock can turn into statues, kind of like a Doctor Who situation, which will protect them from the light, but immobilize them for a short amount of time. Lots of cool things going on with this. It sounds really neat. It looks really neat from the bits of video footage we've seen so far, but there's one big hang-up that I want to tell you about, and that is that the game has a set shelf life. Basically, there's a set number of player lives available, and once that counter reaches 0, the game is no longer going to be purchasable, and then anyone who currently owns the game will take place in this big finale. Now, that all sounds very strange, doesn't it? And I did some more research, and they're basically saying, yeah, this is their game plan. And why is it their game plan? I initially thought, okay, maybe this is just some artsy thing, and they're trying to make this more of an experiment and an experience for the people who do purchase it. Yes and no, like that's part of it, but a big part of their explanation in the FAQ was that they know that a lot of multiplayer games, especially smaller ones, but even larger ones, titles like Titanfall, for example, after a year, the player base just drops off to almost nothing. So they're basically saying ahead of time, we know that about a year from now, almost no one's going to be playing the game, and instead of ruining the experience for those players and having them have long queue times, essentially, we're just going to make it this big event and shut off the game entirely. But why would you say that ahead of time? This is confusing me. This is going to turn a lot of people off to buying it. Now, I myself would still be intrigued enough to give this a look. I'd want to play the game because it sounds interesting, but I'd also want to see what this big finale grand event was going to be. But a lot of people are going to hear, okay, so you guys are just going to shut off the servers eventually? Why would I buy this? You could look at it as like an experience, like purchasing a ticket to an amusement park, and you want to take part of that experience, and then once you leave, that experience is done. But a lot of people don't view games that way. I think either way, this is just a strange thing. It's a weird notion. I hope they make it super artsy and more of an experience, but either way, I'm a bit baffled, but still intrigued enough to want to check this out. Now, the Flock is going to be launching on August 21st, 2015, so just a couple of weeks from now. And when it closes, I don't know, but it's gonna happen eventually, and they're telling us about it now. And lastly, today I want to let you guys know about some upcoming DLC for Dying Light. The game will be heading to the countryside in the following DLC, which continues the story of Kyle Crane as he explores Harran's countryside. Now, the new location is supposed to be as big as the base game, and they'll be adding brand new areas to explore, missions, and enemies to take out. Besides that, they're also introducing the Dune Buggy vehicle with its own upgrade tree, so I really enjoyed Dying Light the time I spent with it, and I'm happy to hear that they're adding a ton of new content. Literally, they said it's as big as the base game. It's huge. That's gigantic. Really exciting stuff. And, you know, to head out into the wilderness, and I like that stuff too. I might have to give this a look, to be honest with you. I am intrigued just enough. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode of The Feed. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic afternoon. Once again, this has been Force, and you have just been force-fed. So everything has an end. Every game that's a multiplayer game will likely eventually close. Every life eventually sees an end. But we just don't want to talk about it ahead of time. It's like when you're born, if they're like, hey, you're gonna die, I just want to let you know right now. The poor baby. Think of the baby.